Are you all singing along? You should know this song by now. Bob is here to tell you all about the LLOA. The LLOA. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to say law of attraction or what I wanted to say. Clearly, I chose to speak a non-language. I'm seeing all my notifications go out just as they should, because that's what technology is supposed to do. It's supposed to work. Yesterday, I sent out a notification to an old Bob Doyle show to a lot of my folks that they've already seen. So that was a waste, and I had to send out another notification. That can be annoying. If you don't mind being annoyed by me, and if you like knowing when I go live with these things, with these Law of Attraction Q&As, even if this is your first one, trust me, you're going to love this. You can just type, tell me, in the comments below. And then when you get a little message from me saying, hey man, I just want to, or I don't say hey man, that would be weird. Just say, hey, are you there? And please type yes, and then I'll know you're there. And then, then the magic can begin to happen. And you'll be notified, like many people were just now when I went live. So here we are, Bob Doyle from The Secret. How do I know this? Well, because it says so right here. Featured expert in The Secret. Video never lies. No, seriously, I was in it. I know I look different. You don't have to keep telling me that. I was younger. I was a younger man. I wore a younger man's clothes, and they were all black. So, if you want to see me in The Secret, well, it's available. It's out there. It's all over the place. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. Where have you been anyway? My guess is everybody watching this has probably seen The Secret. Otherwise, how would you even found me? If it weren't for my work in The Secret, I'd just be some obscure ukulele playing voiceover guy. Right? But then, what a loss, right? Okay, so look. I'm feeling a little punchy today. It's very early again here. I've been up for a very long time. My sleeping schedule's all off. Not that that's why you came here. I don't think you came here to find out what my sleeping schedule was. If you did, well, great. Hi, Nori and Sarah and Beth and Anya, I guess, and Janet and Pink Jackie. Wow, perfect. It's the perfect group. How lucky are we? I think we're really lucky. Now, there are a few of you watching right now who know that this is my third cup of coffee already this morning, so beware. So the way this works, in theory, is that you ask me law of attraction related questions. Ideally, you're here because you know that I was in The Secret. I know a little something about the law of attraction, and I might be able to actually answer your questions so that you could forward your journey, your law of attraction journey. A lot of people are kind of just treading water right there, or they're not really moving forward, or they're all just kind of like right here. But they're not going towards the vision. So my goal is to pull you out of that little cycle you're in and move you towards the vision again. You know, the question I asked, because I love asking questions. Have you noticed? The question I asked in my description was basically, hey, are you stressed? Are you worried? Are you fearful? Are you know? And you know who you are. You know who you are. And this was actually, I'll tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth because our relationship should be based on honesty. So I'm going to expect the truth from you too. So that's the deal. This whole approach, this whole topic, the reason I'm talking about this subject is because of what's going on in my coaching group that starts on Saturday. 90 days. Well, believe me, you'll hear about it before this is over. But the point is that we've already, even though the first session is on Saturday, there's already a lot of discussion going on, and the people are already bringing up their, what their challenges are, which is fantastic, and that's what we want. So the work has begun in that group. And as a result, because this is it's a, when you make a 90-day commitment to yourself, that's a pretty strong commitment, right? There's a financial investment in the whole thing. So you've kind of drawn a line in the sand. And when that happens, when you've basically said, I'm going to change something about my life. I'm going to change me. I'm going to change my circumstances and all that. And just like we talked about incessantly over this past week, the ego doesn't like that. And so it will amp up the more intentional you are about changing who you are or changing your circumstances or even just getting clear on a vision, the more intentional you are about that, the more the ego is going to fight for its life, right? Well, hi, Bersan. Okay, well, then good afternoon to you. And Fabiano from Sao Paulo, Brazil. How can one neutralize negative beliefs while visualizing something positive? That's a great question, Fabiano. Well, I'm going to have to jump into it because I'll forget to answer it if I don't, and I will get back on topic. You need to learn a release technique, whether it's EFT, emotional freedom technique, the Sedona method. Oh my God, there's so many. PS Tech, there's countless, and there's going to be people who watch this and go, yeah, but what about these other 12? There's so many. So you can Google release technique, emotional freedom, that kind of stuff. You'll find some techniques. And I actually am a proponent of using these release techniques while you're visualizing something positive. Because when you visualize something positive, that's when the resistance is going to come up. It actually, this actually tied in directly with what I was talking about. Because it's when you start creating this positive vision for yourself that the ego is going, no, that's not what we do here. What we do is we worry and stress about stuff that might happen in the future, and we feel really bad about stuff that happened in the past and let it rule us. That's our game. So whoa, slow down with this whole better life thing. And so as a result, you start to feel all this anxiety because the ego starts throwing. Boy, my iPad screen went weird, and that's where your comments are. That's the only reason I'm calling attention to it. So the ego starts, throwing everything it can at you. You don't know what you want. You're too stressed. This isn't happening fast enough. You're not clear. Nothing's going right. All of that. Does this sound familiar to anyone at all? Yeah, you're supposed to answer that question. Hi, Maria. And Dawn is here. So that's why this happens when you up your commitment to yourself. And sometimes the more you want out of a situation, you're putting focus on it. So let's just step back. What's the real problem here? Why are you stressed? Why are you worried? Now we know that the ego is telling you all the words that are making you feel this way, but the bottom line is you're not in the present. Now, that you probably heard that a lot, and you may even think it's cliche. See what I'm talking about, that black bar there? I don't know what that's happening. I don't know why that's happening. Boy, do I get easily sidetracked. Present. You have to be present. See what happens when you're not? The ego is all about, taking care of you. So it's always looking out for what could go wrong, right? And all of that, what could go wrong, is always going to be referencing something in the past and then projecting it into the future. This happened before, so it's probably going to happen this way in the future, right? And it all seems very logical. It happened once, it could happen again, or it could not happen again. But here's the best way to make it happen again is to focus all your attention and belief in that it's going to happen again. Or what happens is that belief stops you from taking any action because you think it's going to happen again. You failed once, the ego will tell you. You didn't fail, by the way. You learned something. If you've ever attempted anything in your life and it not happened the way that you envisioned it, it's just because that was your first step. And you're supposed to then take the second step, and then the third, and then the fourth. You're supposed to keep going, you see. It doesn't always happen the first time. I know this analogy has been thrown around a million times, but if we gave up trying to learn to walk when we were a kid, none of us would be walking. If we fell down a couple of times and said, well, I guess the universe doesn't want me to walk. Clearly I'm not supposed to walk because I tried it, a couple of times. I don't know how many thousands of times babies attempt walking. You know why they finally do it? Because they got no stuff in their head saying, you can't do that, see, you failed. Let that settle for a moment in your brain while I take a sip of coffee. Babies don't apply meaning to the fact that they fell down. They don't have the capacity to. But we, with our great intelligence, now have the capacity to second-guess ourselves, worry, and become fearful, and quit way before we should. And so all of that pattern of quitting and stopping when something doesn't go the way you planned builds up all of this evidence for the ego, so that the whole thought of doing something better with your life, just immediately all these dots are connected, and you feel frustrated because your association with wanting something in your life is all around all these ridiculous conversations that the ego is having. Is this making sense? Gabriel was in our first 30-day coaching program. Now he's making a guest appearance right here on this live Q&A. I couldn't be more thrilled. And congratulations, Gabriel, on all the stuff I'm seeing, all your Facebook posts, all the people you're working with. It's happy. But Gabriel writes, my family has been very financially supportive but not emotional. So when I get my first big break and I post a yay, which I was just referring to, the family says the post should have been given all the credit to my parents. How would you handle? That is so funny to me. And I just have to say, from an observing point, because I'm not in it. I'm not you. I don't have the relationship I don't have the relationship that you have with your parents. So I don't have the same sort of, stuff around it. To me, there's a zillion infinite ways you could handle that. You could say, okay, and type it. But I couldn't have done any of this without my parents. What does that do to you? Everybody knows you did it. Everybody knows that you accomplished what you accomplished. You could give credit to every other member of your family, but everybody knows that they did not come in and do this. So if you're worried about transferring credit, they're your parents, whatever. Or you could just say, yeah, well, okay, and just take the feedback and say, yeah, well, I'm, to yourself, I'm not going to do that because that's, if you don't feel it, you don't feel it. The point is, you can be completely emotionally detached from their response, or even think it's funny. Like, really? You think I should give? To me, that's hilarious. Unless they taught you everything you know about your career, it's just like, okay. But you're right. I couldn't have done any of this if you hadn't conceived me. So I owe all of this to my parents. That's one way you could look at it. Hi, Kathy. And Kay. Kathy and Kay. Okay? So here's the thing. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and all of those things, and one of the things that you have to understand is the more stressed and overwhelmed and worryful you are, the more preoccupied you are, so that you're not thinking about the future. Kind of like life. How we get distracted by all the crap that's going on out there, or the crap that we're being fed. So we're distracted. Look at all the crap that's happening right now. And no one's thinking about, We sure do get caught up in what's happening to other people or people around us that really doesn't, when it comes right down to it, doesn't have to impact our daily life. And yet we let it. And the ego loves that because it's a distraction. I can't build a business right now. Look at the state of the world. I can't go after my dreams because blah, 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 blah. I need to be more upset about what this guy said than to focus on my goals, on my dreams, on taking my action, on attracting the people who don't talk like this. But look, we expose ourselves to all kinds of crap, Facebook, and here I am right in the middle of where it's all happening. But until somebody comes up with a better way for me to do this, and I'm open to suggestion. Hi, Natty. Natty's so nice. Huh? So I'm telling you all of this because it really comes down to, it is just as much our natural state to not react, not worry, not fear, all of that. But we've been taught it. So let's go back to the baby analogy. We're fearless. We do whatever, right? We'll do whatever until somebody starts telling us no, no, no. Or we learn ourselves. Like I said yesterday, you touch the oven. Well, I learned that lesson when I was 3, burned into my memory, literally. Touch that. Why is the oven coil orange? That's weird. Lesson learned. Didn't have to learn that from my parents. But that's a real skill. That's not a limitation. That's I need to know this. So what I taught myself, how to walk, how to do all those things, that's all good stuff. It's the stuff that I was taught from the outside. You can't do this, you can't do that. That's not the way it works in our family. That's not what my mother never said any of that stuff. I'm just speaking hypothetically. I'm putting a big umbrella over it, but you know what I mean. No, Gabriel. I don't know why I said Gabriel. Do people call you Gabe ever? It starts on Saturday, my friend. Saturday. That seems as good a time as any to put this up here. Folks, everything I do, everything I know, the best of what I do, I funnel into this group coaching program. Plain and simple. It's going to be better than any program. This is the real deal. This is where you're living it. This is where all this stuff that I'm talking about becomes not just theory and something fun to think about, but actually what you're living your life with. So all these people that I was talking about at the beginning who are dealing with this sort of amped up stress or anxiety because they know they're on the precipice of something really amazing, so their ego's freaking out, guess what? They get to go through the journey. They're going to, on the end of 90 days, they'll be in a totally different place. Where will you be? I'm only speaking to people who really are serious about getting this law of attraction thing handled. So it's not something you're worried about, stressing about, wondering about, so that you can just really make it a part of how you do your day. That's what was supposed to happen. You know, it wasn't supposed to be so freaking hard. I promise you. And there are some people who have that figured out. You know, and then there's other people who just were brought up in an environment where they just didn't learn all these limitations. So it looks so easy for them. But guess what? They've got a brain just like you. They've got arms, legs, blah, blah, blah. You can do it, whatever it is. The only reason you're not doing it yet is because somewhere along the line you learned that you can't, or that it's going to be hard, or something like that. But it's all just misinformation. It's all misinformation. You can learn how to do just about anything. But this is sort of advanced, but it's the essence of what you're trying to do, of what you want to do, that's the most important. How it really makes you feel, how it touches who you are, that sense of passion and purpose. Because that feeling can be actually derived several different ways. You may have and it's like I say this all the time about your vision and the law of attraction in general. You have a vision. And the reason you have that vision is it makes you feel, hopefully, a certain way. It makes you feel abundant, makes you feel free, makes you feel whatever, right? You have that vision. I just jumped the tracks in my head. But you have that vision. I can't remember where I was going. I'm not going to let it bother me tonight. Not going to let it bother me tonight. Yes, you can still join, Gabe. Briel. Why the hell am I saying Gabe? I need to stop that immediately. It just doesn't feel right. Okay. Gabriel, it would be so awesome to have you in here. Seriously, your energy in this mix would be awesome. We've already got quite a mix. It's going to be a wild ride. It is going to be a wild ride. It's going to be very different, maybe, than your first 30. I don't know. All I can say is we are off to the races already. But the first official session is Saturday, so you're not late, right? That's when we do weekly live sessions where I talk on a particular topic around all of this. And then, but all in between, there's live Q&As and live, hot seat coaching. And of course, I'm posting in the group all the time and all of that. So it truly is a 90-day experience. It's not like a fraction of a 90 days, like, just when we meet or something. It's 90 days. And 90 days of continuously being in this conversation, and when you join this thing and take on that commitment, again, just like I was saying with the folks in this group, the stuff is going to come up, and it's going to come up really loud and all at once, and it may feel overwhelming, but never you fear. Because sometimes that happens in life anyway, and you don't have any support. You don't have the tools. You don't know what to do, so you just stress for 3 days. But we're creating a space here where, those feelings come up, and then you come into the group and go, help, these feelings are coming up, and then we help you. Because if you don't get past those things, if you don't learn how to manage that stuff, that's when you're going to start to feel like you're feeling stuck, or that the law of attraction isn't working, or any of that other nonsense that your ego is trying to tell you. Gabriel says he signed up. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in the group deserves applause for sure for taking on the commitment. And a lot of them already know what is ahead. Some of them are new. Very exciting. But even the new folks are already running start in the group. So that is fantastic. Sarah, do you know Gabriel? I don't think you do. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. This is crazy. All right. So look, I'm just saying, if you guys want to have a lot of fun over the next 90 days, but also take it on, life on, get clear on your vision, get rid of all the limiting belief stuff, get at least the tool set to do it, right? And then gain some ridiculous momentum. Get in here. Now let's talk about this presence thing, because that was the whole purpose of this thing. Obviously this 90 days is going to be an exercise in being present every day, and that's great because we need that. We need that constant. We need that. We need the accountability and so on. But what do you do when you find yourself feeling it? How do you get present? So there's several ways to do this. I'll just throw out a few of them. But I'll also say that to me, the most powerful way, and the way that is most truly natural, is just to become the observer. Now, this is a skill that we work on in the group coaching program throughout. The observer of your responses. So you have them, and you go, and you either get caught up into them, which most people do, and then ride that storm, or you can learn to detach from that emotion and observe it. And this is really super powerful skill set, because it turns off basically the vibrational energy that would attract more of that, because it's the emotion of it that is causing the problem, because that's where the energy, that's where you're sending the signal and that, all that stuff. So when you can just turn that off for a minute and observe, oh wow, look at what's going on here, look at how I'm reacting to this, I wonder what that's about. Or you can use one of the tools that we have or whatever to work in that moment. So ideally, you will learn that in the moment when you have the upset and you become aware of it, that you can then transcend it. That may sound impossible right now, but I promise you can do it. Because here's the thing, your ego doesn't want you to do it, because it says, what are you talking about? You've got to deal with this. You're being irresponsible if you don't do this, if you don't handle this. Right? But here's the truth. If you want to come back and be worried about it after you observe it, that's fine. Go right ahead, weirdo. I'm just saying, the situation will be waiting for you when you get back from observing it and making more creative plans about how to handle it. If you're really committed to being engaged in the upset, you can do that. But I'm inviting you to learn to disengage for even just a moment. Stay present. Be present. Here, now. Now, here's some more of the more esoteric ways to do it. Breathe. Just breathe. It's like a instant standing meditation or sitting or whatever you're doing. Focus on your freaking breath for 30 seconds and you'll get present. Just focus on the breathing. Don't breathe while focusing on other things. No, focus only on the breathing. This is a key meditation technique, by the way. If you don't know how to meditate and all that, and you beat yourself up because your mind wanders and all of that stuff, always just bring it back to the breath and bring it back to the breath. I shared that Insight Timer app yesterday with you, and I was listening to one of them yesterday, and it just said this thing that I know, and whatever have probably said in various ways, but I don't know, it just hit me. But it's like, look, thoughts come. That's the way the mind works. There's this great Prince EA video going around where he's commenting on Jim Carrey's comments. If you can find that, go watch that. Somebody posted it in our 90-day group, and I think their minds were bent a little bit, and I want to address some of it in the group because it's really amazing. But thoughts happen, right? Often we think completely on autopilot. We don't intend to have, I'm going to have a negative thought now. I am now, oh, this is the, oh, my alarm just went off. It's time to worry about tomorrow. It just happens. And same thing when we enter into meditation, thoughts still happen. So it's totally okay and it's totally natural. Janet, I'm going to address that. You know, so you don't beat yourself up over it and say, I can't meditate. Oh, I can't meditate. Yeah, you can. It's okay if thoughts come. You just say, but there's a thought and let it go and go right back to focusing on your breathing. And the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. Period. End of story. And that's why people practice lifetimes. Right? It's, you know, the best meditators will still sometimes, because that's what happens. Thoughts occur. So you haven't failed meditation if thoughts occur, right? However, if you let them consume you and you get stuck on them and you fixate on them and focus on the energy of them and then start using those thoughts to project a future that hasn't even happened based on stuff from the past that you think, oh, this is all the evidence I need to know that this is going to happen. You know, when that happens, now we've got a problem. So Janet says, would you talk about how to get rid of clutter? I have too much stuff in my house and it stresses me out. I actually did a program with Carol Look, who's a practitioner, EFT practitioner, and we did a whole program about clearing the clutter. I'll have to see if I can find that. Yeah, I mean, because the clutter. Look, if you saw my desk, I'm clutter. I am clutter, and to an extent, it's okay. And then I hit a breaking point, right? And at that point, I completely declutter like my desk and make it super. Just put everything away, and it's a great feeling, right? You got all this new space to work with, and so. But when I hit the breaking point, I just simply clean it up. You know, again, giving myself permission to be however I am, operate however I am. I'm really clear that you can say whatever you want. You know, I like to say, look, I believe that creative people sometimes they're in the moment. If a thing gets put here and it doesn't get put away, it'll get put away later. Right now, I got to focus on this. Right? It just happens. It's not a bad thing. But you'll know when you start to look at the clutter and feel the negative energy, it's simply time to just clean it. And ideally, you clean it way before it gets out of hand. So for me, you know, I have about, once my desk hits about 10 minutes worth of cleaning clutter, that's when I have to do it. It's probably way less than that, you know. But it just makes me feel better. It's a reset button and all that. So I've long since stopped beating myself up for the clutter. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was always clean, but that's just not how I freaking operate, and maybe it's not how you operate. So give yourself a break. Natty says, rather watching you and listening to you than keep fighting with a lady here. Oh my God, she's so strong-headed and stubborn like a mule. I have no context for that. Okay, good. So Dawn shared that Prince EA video, so you can check that out. Amber has seen it. It can be a little mind-bending, though. It can be, but luckily, I mean, it's a whole thought process that I play with all the time. So I can't wait to bring it into the group, but we may wait a little bit on that. So Natty says, I want a clean, positive energy. Please send me a good, clean, positive energy. We can send it, but you got to receive it. You know, if your focus is still on the argument, you're not going to hear all the good stuff. It's just going to bounce right off. And I just mean that energetically. You know, you also, Natty, have to see a resolution. What does that look like? Who are you going to be in this resolution? It's just, you know. But if we get we get caught up in the moment of the argument or whatever, and our ego wants to be right or make them wrong or whatever it is, and we're in that, where all of our focus is on the negative, and then we ask for help from the outside energetically. But if we're still focused on this, how are our positive comments going to override your ego's insistence that you have to feel this way right now? And this is just a key thing about the whole sending of energy to people. They got to want it, guys. And they got to be open to it, and they got to be ready for it and willing to receive it. Okay. I've got a couple more sips of this, and then I really need to stop drinking caffeine today. That reminds me of a little bit of analogy that I wanted to share with you about commitment and action. Commitment and action to a vision. And I think this is a prime example of there's wanting something, and then there's absolutely committing to it. And that's way different. Here's an example. I know I've got to decrease my caffeine consumption. I got to. It's drying me out. I'm dehydrated. My adrenals are shot. My energy levels are weird. My sleep patterns are weird. Like, I know I have to do it. Right? And so I was talking with a friend of mine the other day who I haven't talked to him for so long. And we were talking about coffee and dehydration and all that. And she goes, well, I make this chai tea. And she was telling me about all that goes into it and all of that and all of that. And of course it's decaffeinated. And the way she described it, it said, well, that seems like that might actually be a good replacement. Because there's something about, like, I'll drink decaf coffee in the afternoons and get the same sort of feeling. Like, it's not about staying awake anymore. Do you know what I mean? So if I can replace this warm, sort of creamy, whatever it is, flavor and experience with something that isn't, that sounds pretty good, right? Right. So here's where the whole commitment thing comes in. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to go and I'm going to get all the ingredients for this chai tea that she's talked about, and I'm going to do it. Now, does that sound familiar to anyone? Over the next couple of days, I'm going to go get the ingredients for this. Over the next couple of days. Now, if I was absolutely committed to giving up caffeine, if I had created a vision like I did with giving up alcohol, if I went through that process that I did to give up alcohol with caffeine, if I chose to go through that process, I would give up caffeine in an instant, and I would be at the store right now. No, I wouldn't. I'd be drinking it right now because I heard about this 2 days ago, and I would have dropped everything and gone to get it, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I have not made this important enough. It's important. I just described all the reasons. I'm losing sleep, my face, blah, blah, blah. Seems like it should be important. Have not clicked. And if that's how you are about your vision, next week I'll make that call. I'll write that book next month. If that's your level of commitment, not enough. Right? So that's why getting really clear on, like, I probably am at the point where I need to do the click process. This is the one I did for alcohol on caffeine. But here's the thing. With alcohol, I had reached a point where I was like, I'm not feeling good about this. This is like, it was a different level of knowing I shouldn't be doing it. And so I then took this on because I wanted to. Right now, not quite ready. I still will, over the next couple of days, go to the store. And then when I start this thing, I'll probably be really glad I did. And can you imagine, 90 days from now, if I were to take on giving up caffeine, I'm getting scared just thinking about it. If that was something that I took on during this 90 days, I can't even imagine what my life would be like, how I'll feel, how I'll look. If I just give this stuff up and replace it with something that's good for me. And so the same thing with your vision. If you start taking action now, where would you be in 90 days? Right? If you've got a level of commitment and you start right now, 90 days from now, where could you be? What could you look like? What could you feel like? What action would you be taking? Right? And if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what your vision is, how great would it be to get clear on that? To start having a reason to wake up in the morning. Right? Something that you're working on, something that you're willing to fail through. Get feedback through. Because it doesn't matter how often you get stopped. It's not really a stop. It's absolute. Every time you take action, that's forward motion. I don't care how far back you feel like you get knocked. You took that step, which led you to that. You learned something. Now it's time to take more action. So this whole 3 steps forward 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, that's an illusion. Everything is a step forward. Because you took that action and you learned something. But that analogy, it's only true that it's a step forward if you take the next course of action. What went wrong there? What can I do differently? Let's go. Right? Most people don't do that, but babies do. So let's look at babies. Okay, if only the interruptions would slow way down. How do you handle constant big interruptions? Well, Wendy, here's what I have to say. Somehow you are in alignment with big interruptions, or they wouldn't be happening. Not that you want them, you clearly do not. But you also clearly have some focus on them. These big interruptions are stopping me. Right? So somehow you've got some energy going towards, and if I was coaching you through this, like if you were in the group or whatever, I'd be digging for information about like, well, how does the slowdown occur? What thought process happens? Do you stop taking action? Do the wheels just stop? I mean, all of that is very important. You know, for me to be able to know how I would suggest that you handle your interruptions, because we need to understand why are they coming in? What are they triggering? Right? And see, that's the whole thing with this law of attraction stuff. There's so much that's unique to the individual. You know, when people ask me, how do I get rid of this money thing, this money problem of mine or whatever, I'm like, well, I don't know. Let's find out why you've got it. Right? And this isn't something I can do in a live Q&A with people all the time, but people want that. They sure want the quick answer. Well, that guru guy, if he can't answer my question, you know, in 30 seconds on Facebook, I guess he's not for real. I would be wary of the guy who does answer your question in 30 seconds on Facebook without asking you anything about what's important to you, where you've been limited before, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I can give general answers like go learn a release technique. But if I'm really going to help you accelerate through this, we got to have some conversation, right? And that's, again, why the group is there, because that daily conversation with me, if you want it. Okay, so she says, like caring for my parents in hurricanes. Okay, so that's, I'm really glad that you said that, because see, that's not like, oh, I'm going to get distracted over here with busy work. This is real life happening here. And if you can understand that, even though we don't understand why is this happening, why are these bad things happening, and why am I in this position, this is taking me away from this, you know, you're clearly doing what is the right thing. You're caring for your parents, and you're contributing in some way, and you have no idea where that's going to lead you. If you just allow yourself to be, maybe this isn't an interruption. Even though it looks like one, it feels like one. I'm not doing the thing I wanted to do, so clearly this is an interruption, but you might interpret it differently, just like I was just saying about the 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That may seem like 3 steps back, but what if you interpret it as, let's see where this is taking me? We don't always know, but I will tell you for sure that if while you're doing these other things, if the universe is leading you in another way, but you're wondering, why am I not back over here? Why? Then you're going to miss the lesson. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up right now. So we start on Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. If you're there live, awesome. If you're not, there's always a replay for everything we do. The live is just a bonus because we can ask and answer questions like this live, but I can still answer all your questions in the group 24/7. So I will talk to you tomorrow at some point. I don't know if it's going to be wildly early again or what the deal is, but I appreciate all of you being here. Again, if you want reminders on this, you can just type "tell me" in the comments below, and then please share this. If you like this stuff, I'd really appreciate it if you'd share it around. I think we're doing good here for those of you who attend, and I'd like to make this group even bigger. Okay, we'll talk soon.